and thank you very much for making up some time. I might need it. I would like to begin with a situation that we all know. This is a guy I got to know in Austria, and it's a situation that we all try to create. So he's a chef. His name is, this one here. His name is Mike. He runs a family-owned business, restaurant, hotel, which has been around since the 1800s, so for a very long time. And Mike is a very dedicated, high-quality chef, where from the moment you get inside the restaurant, everything is orchestrated. So you get inside, there's lighting, there's special sounds. He might even be using special fragrances to create a certain image and atmosphere about the entire experience, right? And then continues at the table. You have here as well, we have white cloths, we have special glasses, we have special cutlery, all of these things to come together to one experience. So it continues with the menu, and of course for the menu, Mike uses only the best produce with the brightest colors, the most boasting flavors, great fragrances, which are locally sourced and a great resource of nutrition, and also a great resource for the eye. So these materials are then transferred with high quality kitchen equipment. I don't need to tell you guys about that, you all know that better than me probably. And this high-end kitchen equipment is used by a brigade, and lots of highly trained, experienced chefs which are using their creativity and their passion to transform all these ingredients into the dishes that we then eat. And these dishes are a very big factor of what makes evenings for us unforgettable. So this has been a great evening so far. So the only problem remaining is what happens once the plates are hopefully empty. And I don't know about you, but I am very excited to hear about the sophisticated process that is going to come after this. You ready?
Yeah.
That's it? So, if you think about it, we have been spending hours and hours of thinking about all these little details and orchestrating all that and all bringing them together to one experience, but we just stop here. We stop here. So what we're doing is, okay, there's a company I know a little bit who takes care of the dishes, but let's not go into that. All the rest, so Mike and other chefs have this issue that they can use this, which is not really a great thing in my opinion. So food waste is a very, very global issue, and we have to address it because it attaches to all of us on both professional and personal life. So just to give you a little bit of an idea of what food waste can be, so food waste what happened to the produce in anime? So 1/3 of global food waste is wasted before it even gets to a consumer. It's 1.3 billion tons. So total food waste per year is almost 4 billion tons. I could try to find an equivalent to that, but I can't. It's just such a large number, which is terrible. Furthermore, you can see here that global food waste accounts for 3.3 gigatons of CO2 equivalent, mainly coming from landfills, where it's emitting methane and other gases. And that's about 7 to 10% of the worldwide global emissions. To put in comparison, the production of metal and steel has 5%. Production of oil and gas has 6%. Transportation has 12%. But you can see how big of an issue it is in terms of sustainability. But we can also speak about other resources. So the creation of one burger requires about 2,500 liters of water, and that's equivalent to 192 minutes of showering. It's 2 cubic meters. If you see one of those blocks, it's a lot of water, and all of this is going to waste. If you ever been to a McDonald's, I mean, you eat sophisticated, but if I go to a McDonald's, sometimes, you just grab a quick bite, and you run into the subway or something, you just had a bite of your burger, and you're can't take it with me, and you just toss it away. That's 2,500 liters of water that's going down into waste, which is also a very sacred resource. And 1/4 of the food waste, so let's say 1 billion tons of food waste, will be around to feed 870 million people. So that's a big indicator also that we have in society where a lot of people are facing hunger. Unfortunately, So this issue could be largely tackled by just avoiding food waste and not throwing them carrots which are not in perfect shape before they even get into consumers. Lastly, to give you an application for the hospitality industry has around 12% of the global food waste in total. However, that might sound little, but that's still an immense large number. You can do the math as you want. So that's why I'm very happy to speak here today to all you professionals to see if we can make a great thing together. You might wonder now how much of an impact can we actually have. So food waste is something that sometimes seems to be unavoidable. And the thing is, that's not the case. So in this case, unavoidable food waste is around about 30 to 50%. And a much bigger share that we can take a look into of 50 to 70% is food waste that we can avoid. And that can be just reduced and just taken away by the source. So if we go further into food waste, it poses further problems to the entire industry. These factors you might know from the kitchens. The first point will be the collection. So food waste inside kitchens is collected in smaller containers, then the next bigger container, and then finally at one point in the green waste bin. So here you always have open sources, you always have smells, you have greases. It is not very hygienic. It can be a source of smell that can attract flies depending on your infrastructure. So far from best practice. Once you have finally filled the green container, so this image probably doesn't really speak for Australia, but you get the image. I mean, let's take a guess. Who wants to guess how much one of those containers can weigh?
240 kilos.
That's a little bit too much. They hold an amount of 240 liters, but you cannot fill them completely. Because due to their way that they're designed, if you fill them completely and you lift them, you just have it all on your shirt. So the total amount is going to be 150 kilograms. And the stewards and stewardesses who are working at those sites, moving 150 kilograms, even for a trained person, is not an easy task. And in this case, you have these special designs with only 2 wheels, so you have to carry them like this, so it's bad for the back, it's terrible ergonomics. And furthermore, you are evenly, nicely spreading all the grease and all those sort of things inside the entire way towards the storage room. So again, why are we still using a system which has been there for decades and has been proven terrible for decades? If you reach the storage room, you might think, oh, finally I've got rid of it. You just put it in the storage room, but no, the next issue arises because, as you can see here, due to the architecture of those containers, you cannot stack them up. So you'll need a lot of space to collect very little waste. Furthermore, these rooms also have to be maintained. So you have to clean them, you have to disinfect them, sometimes you have to refrigerate them. You need to do something for pest control. Sometimes you have traps for rats or for other fall-act friends of us. So all this amount of money, all this amount of time, of working time, just for waste. And then you want to get it disposed, so yes, let's get rid of it, but again, you have the same issue that you don't have it very efficiently because these trucks only hold one level. One more thing is that they provide you with disinfected cans, which they are until they reach the first client, because they come up with a card like this, they go to the first client, completely disinfected, they give them 5 clean ones, take 5 dirty ones in, and that is it. So from that moment, all the other ones are contaminated again. So you can see here, a lot of these issues might be familiar to you. All these issues just pose the system to be not ideal. When you want to start to tackle food waste, I believe that you have to start at the consumer and try to infect the consumer behavior differently. So there's many around the world, but there's one campaign which I would like to point out. It's called Love Food, Hate Waste. It originated in the UK and has now reached also Australia, Canada, and parts of New Zealand. It's a pretty big campaign that is targeting the whole audience of the UK with regards to food waste and how they can reduce it and this is starting. And they're doing really young.
Video?
You can click that?
I don't know if it works.
Well, anyway. There would have been a video, you can watch it on the YouTube channel, it's quite funny. And they're just trying to educate people on best before dates. They're trying to educate people on how to preserve food, how to buy more efficiently. They're launching special events and dates. And they claim that until today, since their founding in 2007 or 8, they have preserved the equivalent of 300 million pounds of food waste, which has not gone to waste due to their actions, and that equivalents to, I don't know, 137,000 tons. I have the numbers somewhere here, if somebody's interested, I'm happy to share. However, this is a very great start to educate the society about how you can do it, because the consumers in the end are shaping the restaurants and are shaping what is demanded and therefore the further things. If we go to the restaurants, there's an association from Germany called United Against Waste. And what they do is they go into operations, and what the Germans are best in, they try to systematize the country. So they're going into care sector, they're going into hotels, restaurants, and try to make different branches out of it. And they provide industry standards of how much food waste is generated per meal. And if you hire, they're funded by the federal government and supported by them, and reporting to them as well. And if you hire them, decide of adding to this big database, they will make a measurement and propose some actions to increase your processes, change your processes, change your menus, and so on. And after a few months after implementation, they will check again. And I've been speaking with the CEO of them, and we've been in partnership with them. And he says that there's a very good chance to reduce your food waste by about 30% on a yearly basis, which is a lot. And if you want to take this to the next step, we've seen it, thank you Joe, in your presentation already, that's then a food waste prevention software system. We have seen the video already, so you know it already. They reach accuracies of up to 95 to 96%, and they can then use the same idea as United Against Waste and just translate it into actual digital data and help you to reduce the food waste by a lot. And by this, you're just making sure that you reduce all the food waste that you had, but you cannot get rid of all of it. So what do we do with the food waste that's still remaining? So even if you did a very great job, and let's say you reduced 30% of your food waste, you still have 70% which you have to dispose. So sure, you can use a bin container, but do we have to? So what are options to do that? Just for later, just maybe keep that in mind. Food waste consists of 85% water and 15% dry materials. That's about almost every other organic structure as well. So the first thing that we could do with food waste, as with all the other waste, is just toss it on a landfill. Has anyone ever been to a landfill? Don't go. It's terrible. Landfills are literal piles, mountains of garbage. It's terrible. If you have them in the wrong weather in the summer, for example, they can reek immensely. They're very uneasy to control, and the problem here is that once the food waste is attached here, they can generate a lot of germs, which is an issue for health and sanitation. And furthermore, if they're covered with enough waste, they can produce methane and other toxic gases, which are very, very terrible for the environment. In this case, also landfills are just made to, let's say, last forever, because the thing is, it's almost impossible to recover anything from here. So everything you toss on there is going to stay here. So what people are doing in Europe, for example, there have been landfills around, not so much anymore, but the ones that have been there, you can cover them with earth, for example, so then you can actually take some of the methane out. However, it is very costly and also very dangerous, because also sometimes they just blow up. So in this case, we have no resource use at all, and we have a terrible CO2 balance. There's also no energy we can recover from this, so this is by far the worst option that we have to treat waste. The easiest one, but the worst. So let's see if there are other options. One option I really like to point out is the industrial composting. In this case, you will take food waste, bring it here, and merge it with soil, with leaves, and with other things from gardening scraps. You will put them on a big site like this, and you have machines that just make big rows out of them. they're swirling them around all the time, so they're great aired. And like this, due to a natural process, there's bacteria in the air that just can sort of transform the food waste into something which you could call a fertilizer or soil adjustment. So afterwards you can use them in industrial applications of agriculture or even in gardens to connect with your soil, to give a rich nutrient soil to your plants. However, this is an aerobic digestion, so in an environment of air. So here what's happening, in Germany we call it a cold incineration. So the energy that is contained inside food waste is actually consumed to transform all the materials into the fertilizing part. So here, we do have a great use of resource, so everything that goes here can be used as a resource afterwards as a fertilizer, which is great. However, we have no energy usage at all from it. We have to put energy in. And also the CO2 balance is, more or less zero, so there's no bad thing about it, but also no good thing about it. Probably a little bit bad because you have to use the machines. What is also required is a lot of space and a little bit of time as well, so it's not finding application everywhere. What else can we do? Another option will be one of those. That's an example of my hometown, Berlin. That's a wastewater treatment plant with a co-digestion. So what happens here is that the wastewater treatment plants, they take out all the solids, all the sludge out of the sewage system. And with a co-digestion like this, these are like digestion towers, these big eggs. So you fill them up, let's say until here, with sludge from the sewage system. And from there, they're in anaerobic environments, so without any air, and their methane can be produced from the sludge. It can then be taken and burned or fed back into an earth gas grid. It is about 60% biogas, like 6% methane, while original gas has like 99%. So you have to wash it to put it in. However, in this case, you can recover a lot of the energy that is still inside the food scraps. However, here, due to, you cannot really use the resource anymore because the sludge from wastewater treatment plants is contaminated with a lot of things like medicine, heavy metals, other chemicals that are just going down the drain. So it is forbidden to use these sludges as fertilizer. Some countries do it, but it's not really best practice. So now we've seen we have one which is terrible, one where we get resources, and one where we get energy. And the big thing, which is the trend that we're going now, is actually the fourth one, the one which got both. And that would be a biogas plant. A biogas plant pretty much works in the same way as a anaerobic digestion tower. However, here you only feed it with rather food scraps or manure, more classically. And in here, because you don't have these impurities of pharmaceuticals, chemicals, and such, you can use the energy that you produce from it, and you can afterwards use the digestate, which is a rich bio-fertilizer, which finds applications everywhere in the world. On agriculture, in gardens, you name it. It's a better fertilizer than actual manure, and food waste have more energy potential than manure. So therefore, this is the best trend currently to how you treat food waste after it has been there. So after you have reduced your food waste by the biggest percentage you can, the food waste that's still remaining should be used in a good way, right? So what happened to the presentation? It's the wrong presentation. Anyway, I've been speaking about energy, so let's see how much energy we're speaking. Is there anyone who's willing to do some sports? I can't. Run, please. Come to the front. Right here I have one of those e-bikes, and let me just quickly check for the presentation. You can take a seat, don't worry.
Michael, get my helmet for me, please, and my gloves. You never focused on it. Well, I missed it this morning, so this is a good opportunity to catch up.
Really good film. Stretch first.
No, it's not going to be that tough. I don't think.
Otherwise, it's fine. You know, I want to make this a little bit fun. So what I did actually is I brought some treats. So if you want to participate with questions or with guessings, I got some bananas. And what else I got, which is to me even more special, is I smuggled in some chocolate. They almost gave me a hard time at the customs. I think some people in this room can relate to the Australian customs. However, I got them in, so yeah, and I just would like to treat you guys a little bit as well. And in the end, who's asking a good question is get one as well, so stay tuned.
Yes.
Brian, can you tell me about this e-bike? Is there a meter for the kilowatt hours? Can you see the watts? Okay. It would be great to start strapping. Can you reach 100?
100, yeah.
Great.
Thanks.
Very good. Yeah, that's good. That's good. You can continue. Can you try to hold this for a minute or two?
It's a resistance.
We got enough bananas, so don't you worry.
Take it easy, Brian.
You're a long way from this one.
Okay, now I'm up to 200. Here we go. How much do you want? 80 or 100?
100 would be good. Perfect.
Okay, good.
So, does anyone has an idea of how much energy Brian will produce or consume in this case if he does that for 10 minutes?
That's big, not a lot.
Come on up.
Okay. So, anyone has an estimation? Yeah, come on, just post up. 15 kilowatt? Anyone else? Okay, very good. 14 kilocalories or 17 watt hours actually. Let me. You want chocolate or banana? So very well done. We're gonna see about the banana a little bit later on what energy it has, but let's say what do you think the chocolate contains? What do you think the chocolate contains? So what do you think how long he has to be on this bike to consume the energy contained in one of those chocolate bars?
1 hour. 2 days.
It's this.
2 hours.
2 hours? Very good. Not so far away actually, so it's 109 watt hours contained in this little piece of chocolate. So that's almost 1 hour. Who was that?
No, but give it to Brian. I mean, give
Thank you.
To put it into comparison, what do you think, how much energy is contained in the banana? Double? Okay. It's actually about very good. It's about the same by being 5 times the weight. And now comes the interesting part. What do you think is contained in this? Huh? Come on, guys, don't be shy.
Probably double again.
So it's the amount of energy. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, dude. So it's the amount of energy that he's using. Having fun over there?
Yeah, lots of it. Can you move along?
Yeah, of course. No, it's fine. Thank you very much for your service. The energy that is contained in one of those scraps is the same energy that he needs to do that for 10 minutes. To put things in perspective. I mean, isn't that crazy? We're throwing this away. We're considering a banana peel as something that we cannot eat or cannot use in a way that is not that sustainable, because even if you do, I mean, there are people who will make a beer out of it or sodas or such, but in this case you need to put a lot of labor in, you need to put a lot of energy in, so it's a fun thing to do, but it's not really scalable. You can stop, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's right. Can't think of a piece of chocolate.
You got one. You got one?
The very fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not yet.
First thing that is fun.
I'm still there.
Technical issues. Does work? Yeah. Okay, so this just to put these things in perspective. I have some more of the chocolate, so later on here, yeah, I'm happy to answer questions. But this is to put this into perspective. I mean, you saw him, right? And this energy could be used if we just use this in an anaerobic digester. So if we speak about a little bit bigger scales, if we take a ton of food waste, which can be produced by, let's say, 5,000 meals. In my company, we calculate with this amount, so 200 grams per meal. There are industries which are far above, there's even countries which are far above. If we're speaking about casinos, for example, sometimes you reach amounts of 500 grams per meal, which are going to waste because they have all these big buffets and such. Buffets like this one here, this is very, very little. In casinos, they're much bigger. The smallest amounts are actually found in big catering organizations because due to their size, they can produce things in very big batches and therefore they don't have so much, residual. However, if you have 1 metric ton of food waste, inside the biogas plant, as I said before, you can produce 2 things. First thing, 85%, that's the water we had from before. The water is actually becoming digestate, which then finds application in the agriculture. And the thing here is what it does, a biogas plant works more or less like a stomach. So the bacteria inside are pretty much the same that everyone here has in their stomach as well. And what they do is they get off the energy of the food waste, which for them is just food, and release it here in form of gas, in our case in form of energy that we need to walk, to live, to breathe, to do everything we do. And what remains is all the magnesium, all the vitamins, all those kind of things that we as humans would consume and build into our cells and become more resilient. However, these bacteria, they don't use them. So in this case, all these nutrients go inside the water, which can then be used as fertilizer, and because of the big amount of water, some farmers even pay to get that from biogas plants, because they're doing 2 things, fertilizing and watering at the same time. And the other 15%, it varies a little bit, it depends on the calorific value, because here's the same, the fatter the food waste, the more about F energy can come out of it. That's a rule of thumb which happens in humans as well. So that 15%, let's say 110 cubic meters of biogas can produce per day, and that allocates to 630 kilowatt hours of gross energy production per day. To put that into relation is, again, these Australian trucks, they can probably load a lot of gasoline. This is about 63 liters of gasoline. So maybe half a truck filling. So now, because this is getting ridiculous.
There's another one. Yeah, there's another one.
That's fine, I stay here for now. So to give you a little bit of an overview of what is happening around the world, because don't just take my word for it, take the trends in the entire world for it. So let's start in Germany. It's the country where Michael Green is from. Germany is the most developed country in terms of biogas infrastructure. We have now about 10,000 biogas plants in service. Unfortunately, many of them run on something which we call energy crops, so that's rapeseed or corn, where huge fields are just being farmed for the sake of digesting them and creating fuel. Which is a great way to create fuel, but there's a big discussion going on about this because these land should not go into fuel generation, but rather in food, So that's why it has had a setback. However, it is still very, very developed. There's one big example of Berlin I would like to share. The public cleaning company in Berlin is called BSR. They are having a very, very big biogas plant processing about 80,000 tons of food waste from all the inhabitants of Berlin every year. And with this amount, they create biogas enough to power 150 which is half of their entire fleet of the waste cars. And biogas is by definition carbon neutral because the carbon dioxide that is inside is only the one that has been consumed by the plant or by the animal during his time of growing up. Therefore, the CO2 you're releasing is not new to the system, it has just been taken out at one point and given back in the other one, so it's a balancing out. So that's the big advantage to fossil fuels. And like this, they can power 150 waste trucks, which in my opinion is pretty amazing. And they are constantly receiving delegations from Japan, Korea, and other countries which are trying to, see how it works. In France and Great Britain, it also came to those things. They're very fast growing in this regard as well. They have very strong in-feed tariffs where you can get a stable price for, I believe it's 15 years from now, for feeding in green energy into the gas grid. So therefore there's a big accelerator here as well. I have spoken to you about the campaign before, which we had in Great Britain, so they're really taking care of this. And also the gate fees on AD plants for food waste, because it has a high energy potential than manure, for example, has gone down from 36 Great British pounds to 11 per ton. So that's another incentive for them. And yeah. We got next. Oh yeah, Canada. Pretty comparable situation here. They have some legislations as well, which led to a posting increase of only 40 biogas plants around Ontario. They're still developing. Here is just the issue that you need to have the infrastructure is very far spread. So they're getting there, but not as developed as Europe yet. Next time we have Japan. Japan is a very interesting country because they do things a lot different than the rest of the world. They have about 500 biogas plants in service right now. Some of them only running on food waste. They don't accept anything else. And here the fun thing is, in Hokkaido, it's the granary, you can say, of Japan, where they have a lot of agriculture. And here they use the energy they produce with their biogas plants to temperate greenhouses, for example. And also what they do, what I find pretty funny, is they have big fish tanks where they cultivate their own caviar. And they're heated with biogas as well. So they call that biogas caviar, and that's like getting through the roof actually there. Next up we have South Korea. In South Korea, landfills have been banned in 2005 already for food waste, so there has been a long-lasting trend. And due to their bioenergy strategy, they're aiming to increase the biogas factor in their grid by a number of 4 by 2030. They've been investing 74 million US dollars in research with regards to biogas and other new fuels in that case. And they have implemented source saturation as a mandatory issue for hotels and hospitality. Next up we have Hong Kong. Hong Kong is also very driving force in the Asian market on this regard. They have a big program where they have educational activities, environmental activities, also campaigns to educate the broad community. And they have just finished the OPARC 1 biogas plant, which is outstanding by size, created by Veolia, which can transfer 73,000 tons per year. And they're currently building OPARC 2, which is going into operation in 25, I believe. So here you can see as well that they're really invested into seeing what they can do with the energy contained in food waste. Singapore has same approach. They have an interesting history with food waste. Already in 2016, they implemented a law which forced hospitality industry, hospitals, care sector, whatsoever, to allocate space in the design phase of the house to on-site treatment options. So I believe everybody here has heard about composters, digesters, right? So those kind of things. What they did, so the idea behind it was very good because they wanted to reduce waste and they wanted to find new ways to deal with it. However, digesters, in my opinion, are just a in-between solution, which is now coming out of the houses again because they are currently building a AD plant for 1.5 billion. And the problem with the digester is it is a very cheap option and it reduces your disposal cost by a lot because you simply don't have them. However, you cannot recover the energy from that. And it only flushes down the drain and it's therefore very dangerous for the grid as well. In some parts of Europe, they are already banned from the market. So I believe in Singapore it will quickly follow. because they will understand that this energy recovery is much more valuable than just having these things inside the houses. Australia, of course, also very interesting. They're investing a lot, both on federal and state level. And here's a very interesting factor that also gives a different point of view to this. Anyone heard of rich grow?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what is rich grow to you guys? Exactly. And what they did is they built the biggest biogas plant in the southern hemisphere. It's here in Perth, or here, I say in Perth. Very, very big, powering, I think, 1,800 households in Western Australia with energy. And they're taking all that in for one purpose, to generate fertilizer. So for them, the energy is a side product. So they built this massive plant, and they're really having contacts to certain hospitality industry, because as well, again, they know food waste from hospitality, when it's segregated, is more or less without impurities, has a higher energy potential, has fats inside, which boosts its sales all. It's like an energy drink for the biogas plant. And the fertilizer that comes out is the best organic fertilizer you can create, which simply doesn't cost you anything. Around the time, it costs you time, and you have to install the installation, but afterwards, biogas plant, especially in Australia, you don't need to heat it so much because it's hot enough. And from that moment, it's a big money generator. In the UAE, they're also starting with those kind of things, also with regard to fertilizer, because there has been a law launched that they need to source a lot of their produce from inbound, or from the country, or from close ones, to reduce the imports. And what they have to do now, I mean, anyone who has been to Dubai has seen it's not the most fertile land. So they need big infrastructures of water and also of fertilizer. So they're also needing fertilizer there, and not wanting to buy it in. They're also installing very big biogas plants to take care of the waste, actually with the aim to produce fertilizer in the first place. And Chile is another very interesting one, just to complete the world tour. I'm almost done, don't worry. Which has been, they've set up a strategy until 2040 where they want to introduce a mix of composting facilities, warm composting facilities, biogas plants, and campaigns to educate the people as well. So they're really the sort of Switzerland in South America here, going very strong against landfills as well. So this just shows you how big this issue has become all over the world. So all these countries are trying to invest, and all these countries are trying to change towards a more sustainable future, because these biogas plants would really provide a big advantage. So Mike, from the beginning, if you still remember him, so he has obviously didn't want to have this bin system from the start anymore. So what he did is that he got invested in microgreen. This there is a biomaster, and on the side you can really see the process that we're trying to preach, and the process that we, and me myself as well, believe in. So food waste is generated inside your kitchen. You can, with the biomaster, then grind it down and store it very efficiently. Afterwards, you have very long disposal frequencies, because they can be collected in suction trucks, which can collect a lot more than only one line of those bins. When brought to biogas plant, you can get out the fertilizer and the energy, and the fertilizer goes back on the fields, where it fertilizes the food waste of tomorrow. That sounds bad, but in the end, that's it. The system, just this one slide about micro, I don't want to speak too much about it. This decollection starts here, so this will come in one of those in-feed stations, where you just have it directly in the kitchen, so you just toss it inside, close the lid, press the button, that's it. Transportation is not done manually, but via pipelines, which are then leading to one room, wherever you want to have it, where you can have the storage tank. So no labor included here, completely closed system, secure to pests and odors. The storage tanks are very efficient, because you can build them in almost every dimension. And the thing is, inside here, since there's air inside, no gas is going to be developed, and they can be stored for up to 6 months. We have installations in Austria where there are ski huts and ski resorts, which really collect the food waste for an entire season. Because actually in the winter nobody can go up with their lorries, because it's just so snowy. So they go up after the end of the season and just pump out a bunker of, 30, 40 cubic meters with 2 lorries, and that's it. They have 1 disposal per season. Isn't that great? And finally, this disposal here. And here is also very interesting because the disposal companies are charging a very, very competitive price for this one. Because first they can collect re-separator and food waste in one go, so you're really decreasing the lorries by a lot. And furthermore, since they don't need, we have heard it about the UK, in other countries the same, that the gate fee for biogas plants for taking this food waste, which has already been ground, is much less than it is for, let's say, solid waste. And also here the thing is, you can think of it as an apple, so if you as a human eat an apple, you need relatively much grinding energy, you need to swallow it down, you need to digest it, so it takes a lot of time until you actually get to the energy. But if you compare it to a glass of apple sauce, which you can almost drink, which has a big surface which directly gives you energy from the spot, that's the same that happens in a biogas plant. So it's pretty much pre-chewed for the bacteria to start their operation. All this coming together, together with microgreen, you can really provide a solution which is a triple bottom line. It is good for the people that work with it because it is ergonomic, it is clean, it is a very time-saving addition to the kitchen equipment. It is good for the environment for the reasons I've just quoted, that you have the fertilizer and the renewable energy. And the profit for you as well is there because the disposal costs go down by a lot. And normally the standard applications that we do with the biomass have a return of investment of 4 to 5 years, while having a lot of soft benefits such as ergonomics, cleaning, cleanliness, odor-free, risk-free, whatsoever. So we've spoken about purpose, we've spoken about those kind of things. So here we're in a phase right now, there's a theory, an invention graph which shows that we're now at the stage of early adopters. So there's now people who are idealistic, who want to do it because they believe. Also Mike, that I've shown before, his restaurant, I think, has 30 seats. So actually he would have been too small for this operation, but he has invested, so he opened up, he completely renovated his restaurant, he opened the floor, he put a excavator inside to build a larger tank. And of course, not everybody has to be like him, however, you can see at his example that there are people who are invested in it. We've been speaking about legislation as well. And I believe legislation in this case is the one component that will drive this further, because there's going to be people like Mike who do this out of legacy and out of their personal beliefs and ideas. However, I think legislation here is key because people are very cheap. And people are reluctant to change. So as long as you don't, and even, so the only driver here is legislation and money. And even with the money part, it is not very easy to convince gastronomy about using such systems. So yeah, this is really what I wanted to bring to you. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. The journey starts today. And at the end of this presentation, you can find myself and my contacts, and I would love to get in touch with you guys further on. Thank you.